So there's a paragraph. You get to learn there's an enteric nervous system, and that's it. Well, it turns out a few years ago, there was something discovered in the gut that we had learned that depression is due to serotonin receptors. You guys have heard of serotonin reuptake inhibitors, and serotonin is a neurotransmitter. Turns out that serotonin was also found in the gut. And the neuroscientists, remember my PhD work was in neuroscience, and all these guys knew all this, but they never talked to the doctors about it, so there's never any communication. When they communicate now, it's called translational science, by the way. I thought medicine was based on science, so then who's translating what? Anyway, okay. So serotonin is found here. Well, the serotonin works on receptors here, so people went looking for the serotonin receptors here, and they found them. So they made a drug against that called tegaserot. So people who have irritable bowel syndrome were using this drug. But it had a side effect that not only did it work here, that it worked here. And I had been saying for years that when people take antidepressants, not only does it work on their brain as an antidepressant, and everyone's on antidepressants these days, you know, if you cry in front of your doctor, maybe because there was a death in the family, the first thing they want to do is put you on an antidepressant. An Ayurvedic doctor will say, it's natural that you're crying because you've lost someone. You know, why don't we have some time for you to bereave? That's what sitting Shiva is. That's what the time that we have before Shraddha in Hindu families is. It's a normal time to grieve, not a time for antidepressants. We don't all walk around with a Prozac deficiency, right? Waiting for Prozac to fill our deficiency. But yet it seems like they want to give us this. Well, when that happens, people get irritable bowel syndrome. And I saw it clinically. Ayurveda says there are nerves in your gut, and you have to watch for those. You can't just ignore them just because modern medicine doesn't want to pay attention to them. So the neuro is there. Immune system is also there. We have these things called Peyer's patches. They're collections of little army cells, white blood cells, that hang out right along our gut. Why? Because if you eat something and there are bacteria in there, you want to be able to stop them and throw out some little, you know, like they're basically little acid bombs to kill those bacteria so they don't get into the rest of your system. It's a very intelligent system. But if you have that immune system there, and you don't pay attention to it, what's going to happen? Those army soldiers are going to get really upset. They need to have, you know, attention. So we have something like 75% of our immune system along our gut. So here we are giving people vaccines, and we're giving them lots and lots of vaccines to eat. And these little kids, do you remember when rotavirus vaccine came out and all these kids died of intussusception? Intussusception was basically the immune cell complexes just got big and they started rolling over on each other. And when they rolled over, you got this this knot basically in the gut, and the kids died because their intestines got all out of shape. Well, what was that because of? It was because their immune system got all messed up. And so when we give kids, I'm not saying don't vaccinate. What I'm saying is watch the way that you vaccinate and watch that it's in line with the environment and kind of tuned in. Don't give kids 16 vaccines in the first month. So when we watch the immune system grows up really nicely. When we don't, kids end up getting food allergies, and I see it. Kids come in at the age of 3 with food allergies. Did they get antibiotics? Did they get something that ruined their immune system in the first 6 weeks, 6 months of life? Chances are the kid's going to have one of a diamond shape of symptoms. Ear infections, asthma, eczema, food allergies. You see one, look for the others. You're going to see them. And I know hundreds of kids that have had this happen. And the kids suffer. They're 8, 10, 12 years old, and they're still suffering. And I just take them and I just start putting them on Ayurvedic regimens, and they go, you know, they get better. It's amazing to watch. It's lovely to watch. That's the immune system. Endocrine system. Endocrine's not just insulin. We know about insulin. It's all these other hormones that are talking to each other. Vasoactive, intestinal, peptide. They've got all these fancy names for them. Cholecystokinin. They're fancy, fancy names that they found in the gut. These endocrine hormones are talking to other organs of the gut, and they're talking to the rest of the body. So Ayurveda says, they of course didn't talk about, you know, these chemical names because everything was in poetry form. They say there's a system of the body called the neuroimmunoendocrine system. Modern medicine does not even acknowledge that this is a system. And Ayurveda says that the gut and the mind are working together with the immune system. And if you do not take care of what you put into your body, as food, you are going to destroy that force that you have, that's this axis running through your body, that is your immune system, your nervous system, and your hormonal system. Do you think that any of those could be important in disease? Of course they are. So Ayurveda says you've got to focus on those imbalances. So when you say you are what you eat, it's you are what you eat, you are what you digest, and it's how you digest things that's important. Okay, so you got that? Was that too technical for you guys? That was good, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history, and then we're going to go into Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Give you a little break from the sciencey stuff. So Ayurveda started 5,000 years ago. It's the oldest living medical system on the planet. Behind that spoon is the word the planet. It's continuously practiced in India. It's also legally practiced in Sri Lanka, Romania, Hungary, Malaysia, and 8 states of the US now have Health Freedom Acts where you can actually find an Ayurvedic practitioner who can practice non-illegally. I don't think Connecticut. Is it recently? I'm not sure that it is.
I think the NCCA
they have a naturopathic law, but I'm not sure that that is spreading to Ayurvedic people. I'm trying to be more diplomatic. I was telling Paul in the car, but I also want to make a really sharp statement so they get people's attention. I've always had that tendency. And it occurred to me the other day in the shower that I came up with another one, and that is that I would like to challenge these great universities, that if they're such great universities, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, all these kind of schools, why is it that the largest collection of knowledge that is among the oldest on this planet created by humankind, which is the Sanskrit texts, are not systematically studied in universities? We seem to study everything else, right? We have departments for you name it. We have departments for the Bible. We have the Asian studies. We have all kinds of sciences that are 100 years old, 50 years old, 20 years old. We have all kinds of subjects like political science, philosophy. Why is it that we don't study the Sanskrit texts? These were books that were put together, well, they were orally put together 5,000 years ago, written down 3,000 years ago, and yet we don't study them. There is so much knowledge in these. We could study them and say this doesn't apply, that doesn't apply, but from a historical space, we should be studying them. Why is it that we don't study them? Why is it that we don't have departments looking at among the oldest languages on the planet with a scientific collection of knowledge? Why don't we have departments like that in our schools? And that started bothering me. So I started looking into this and I started reading voraciously. Why have we not heard about Ayurveda if it's so effective? Why have we not looked at Sanskrit? And I came up with 2 theories. And they're historical facts. One is that there's a guy, Macaulay, who put out to the British Parliament in 1835, and if none of you have read this, you should go online and read the entire speech that he gave. But basically he said, I've traveled across the length and breadth of India. I've not seen one person who's a beggar, who's a thief. Such wealth have I seen in this country. Such high moral values. And by the way, India had 26% of the world's GDP back in 1800. And then the British came, and the rest is history. Okay. People of such caliber that I think we could ever conquer, I do not think we could ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation. And that backbone is their spiritual and cultural heritage. Therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, which is Sanskrit system, and her culture, for if the Indians think that all that is foreign in English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, they will lose their native culture, and they will become what we want them to be, a truly dominated nation. So in 1835, they passed this law that said everything in Sanskrit is illegal. They went and cut out the tongues of people who were teaching in Sanskrit. They went into people's homes, burned their books, and I know people in Kerala who say that it's still passed down that these people used to come in, and so they would hide everything. They would bury them under the, I think some of you know this who have families in India, we would create ditches and bury books and wrap them up and bury them under the ground so that nothing was available. And kids would sit at night, those of us who studied, from 2 years old, we would sit at night, and our parents would teach us things and say, never repeat this anywhere. Because kids will repeat it wherever they want. They're kids. And if a British person heard them, they would get killed. Where did you learn this? Your father taught you, take me to your father. And then the father would be punished. So they learned to be secretive. And that tradition of secrecy is kept up in some parts of India, where people have just learned blindly. They don't know why, but they know that they shouldn't share these secrets. And that's part of why Ayurveda has not been more widely shared with people and taught. Another is that old India doesn't really have the need to evangelize. India is among the only civilizations that has not gone outside of its boundaries to conquer anyone or anywhere for 10,000 years. In the last 10,000 years, there's no record of Indians going outside of the subcontinent and trying to conquer, any of the cultures or civilizations around it. People came into India, and we welcomed them with a cup of hot water at first, and then with a cup of tea. Gave them some silks, gave them some of our gold and our mahogany and our wealth, and they took it and they left, and then they set up trading posts, and then they came in with guns. And this idea that we should still be nice to people when they come to our homes, and we should host them and feed them and take care of them, is a very Indian thing. And so Ayurveda will not go out and evangelize to you. So my guru says, if you take 10 steps toward Ayurveda, Ayurveda will take 20 steps towards you. And it is so true. Anyone that I've seen that comes and tries to learn Ayurveda just takes those 10 steps. All of a sudden, the world opens up for them and they see Ayurveda everywhere. And maybe that was already there and they didn't see it before, but it's almost as though the universe responds and says, you've opened up to it here. Here's the wealth of my healing that I would like to give you. I meaning Mother Earth and Ayurveda. And I find that to be very powerful in my life, because I did take the courage to take those 10 steps. Even though everyone was telling me I was a quack, and what are you doing? This is not scientific. I took those 10 steps, and for the last 10 years, people in India have opened up to me and taught me things that I feel very privileged to know. These are some of the older books. I'm going to skip over them. You can look at them later. And this is the treatment slide. So these are all the different treatments that are available in Ayurveda. So you've probably seen dietary lifestyle changes, exercise, and fasting. Those are pretty conventional. In the middle section is the stuff that we call CAM. Meditation, yoga, breath work, massage, acupuncture, sound therapy, or music therapy. And the bottom are the things that are uniquely Ayurvedic. Rasayana, which is tonic herbals. Trigger points, which are the predecessors of acupuncture points and meridians. And do you guys know what marma points are, right? I'll even have you go through the marma points of your face. So go right on the outer side of your eyes, just put your fingers there, and try to go clockwise. So one finger's going to go this way, and one finger's going to go this way. So go clockwise like this. Like that, yeah. So you're going opposites. Go the same way. Yeah, it's hard, but go the same way. Go the same way, like this. Yeah, you guys are going like this.
Yeah.
Go this way. Both fingers in the same. Yeah. So don't rub hard. Just rub lightly. Right here on the outer of your nose, the outer edges of your nose. You'll just feel it. There's a spot right here. And use your first fingers. Use the not the nails, but the padding. Just right here. Don't go like this. Go like this. Yeah. Okay. And then on the outer side, so your lips, you go like this, you know exactly. Why? These are marma points. And as you stimulate the marma point, not pressing too hard, marma points are used to stimulate your energy. It's the simplest way of saying it. But it's your deeper energy connections of your body. And when people feel unwell, if you can learn the marma points that correspond to deeper organs, you can actually use points on the surface of your body, just as acupuncture and acupressure do, to stimulate that. So marma points are very much used. The best way to do this is to get some sesame oil or some aromatherapy and just press it into those places with a dot and then do massage. And since it's confusing to do both fingers at once, just do one at a time. And just do like 10 rounds. Stop, get aromatherapy on your other finger and do it like this. And you'll find that there's like a little subtle change. Almost like you wake up a little bit, a little stimulation. I see a couple people were sleeping in the room, so that might be a really good thing to